Greetings and salutations. Ben here. Welcome to the Sunday Night hanging right here on Sundays, because that's the way that works. If you're new, please subscribe. And if you're returning, welcome back. And if you're watching on replay, comment howdy. Algorithms. There we go. And I want to say welcome back to my good friend Scotty. He blames me for a certain addiction. I can't deny it. He's carrying on a tradition as well. Last year was the year of the Dodd for me, and apparently this is the year of the Dodd for Scott.
The 2 years of the Dodd, and probably the 3 years of the Dodd.
Well, yes, left them all. So welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, always fun.
It's been a couple of years now, something like that.
Halloween show, maybe.
Well, yeah, the hang.
Yeah,
Community
but
hang.
yeah, one-on-one. It's been a while. It's been a while. Well, yeah, for a while you're like, let me get infrastructure. And we're like, all right.
Yeah. And
then lifestyle choices and such. And
then
I think part of it just we keep catching up with each other on the Water Buffalo meetings that we don't think, hey, why don't we do this publicly? I'm like, right?
Why don't we hang out? Because then I can just talk like I always do.
Right. Let's see. Who do we got in the chat here already? We already got 44 people in here. Oof to me. We got Herb of Fireside Studio. What's up, Herb? Gear Junkie 35. Paul McNary and the Cats. Martian Murray. William Da Silva. Guitar Man 45. Wayne McConnell. Hello from Kelowna. Awesome, my friend. We got Lee in here. Let's see, that'd be El Barge. Ferd Murphle, Tom Raines, JP Page 2. Tomorrow's his birthday, just saying. Big one. Milestone. Patrick Trice is here. Gary's here. Fruitcake Tony. Thanks for having me on last night, Tony. Awesome show. Ryan Hall is here. Dave Chase. Terry's 3Gs. Co-host of Canucks with Guitars. Just saying. Who else we got here? Jason Lindholm. Richard Nagamitsu. We got Hunter in here. We've got Christopher Live Sawa, who won the trivia last night because he always wins when I'm on. Because that's how that works. Not a fix. Hashtag not a fix. All Dave, all night. Good to see ya. Presley's California Customs. Mason Douglas. Lawrence Cash out of Alaska. As opposed to all the other Lawrence Cashes out there. Mark's Gas Station. Paul P-Man Howland. Ben Olmark. Great to see you guys. Wow, we got Tom Raines. Billy Baloney. Wow, we got a lot of people in here tonight. A lot of people. Eric Warrington. Graphite and Cigars. What's up, Ronnie? Superfan Gary Davlin. Dave Chase was first in the chat. Nice. Go down the bottom. Simon Hosford. Legend. What's up, Haas? And the birthday boy himself, Symmetry. I'm not saying 54 years old. What's up, brother? Happy birthday. Jeff K.
54 years young.
Bonkers. Hobo Roadie. I think I'm caught up. I think. Oh, Absolute Mayhem. He says, made it. Not sober, but made it. Join the club.
Ben's not sober.
No. Richard Nagamitsu reported in where there it is. Sire H7 delivered today. I don't know which model that is, but I'm sure it's a good one because I looked at several and played one, and I was quite impressed with build quality versus cash out of my pocket. Because that's the thing. You got to take it to credit. You know as well as I do, Scott. You can buy a guitar at every $100 level between, say, $100 and $3,000. You're going to find a guitar at every $100 level. And I expect that little bit more at every $100 level. Yeah. Whether it could be, hey, they did stainless frets, if you're into that. Or, hey, they did a burst instead of just a satin finish. Or, a gloss instead of satin, which I take into account. Fun fact, I prefer buying a satin finish because it's cheaper. And then, you know what? I can polish that myself. Yeah. I don't need to pay somebody at the factory to polish it.
I got to polish the edges on that thing so it doesn't slide off my lap.
Okay, semi-hollow 335 style, great Gearfest deal. Nice.
Nice. And the 7s are the step-up model.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got stainless frets and nice guitars.
Mm-hmm. Decent. They use some nice pickups in those too.
Yes, they do.
I can't remember what they are, but I remember when I was talking to the guy up at where's that? Mars Music in Peterborough. They carry Sires, and he's like, "Oh, they're like Wilkinson, but not Wilkinson, or or whoever." It was like a dude's name, like Ron Ellis. So I'm like, no, I think Ron Ellis played for the Leafs. I think it's a different Ellis that does pickups. I don't know.
I can't remember the name of him. I'd have to look.
Dan Ellis? No.
Greetings, everybody. I'm not going to name you all. I've been it.
Dan of New Jersey's here. Great to see Dan. Graphite Cigar says, that's why I prefer tongue oil, no polishing. Well, there is that. There is that.
I like
an open pore body. Hey, there's my knee cert. Now we can start. My knee cert's
Now
here.
we can start.
Now we can start.
My fellow Seattleite.
Right. And lover of punk rock.
Yes. 4th century, dude. 4th century.
Nice. So yeah, folks, we're going to talk about pedals and gear and Explorer-shaped objects because we got them, so we can talk about them.
Yes, we do. Explorer-shaped objects are great.
Ooh, Richard also has a Gretsch Jet with P90s coming this week, too.
I decided I'm not buying guitars online anymore. I want to play them first.
And you know what? Based on your experience buying online,
yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that again. It was an experiment. I wonder if it's okay to do this. No.
And I think, unless someone who doesn't necessarily know better, it might be an okay experience.
Right.
Like, if the company only cares about the frets between the 1st and 12th, and you never venture past the 12th, and you would, ignorance is bliss.
Right.
But,
yeah, it's like, well, you can't, when you're doing a check, you can't just fret the notes and make sure that they don't buzz. You got to bend the notes and make sure they don't buzz or fret out.
I'd never come across this before. It was I was setting up one of my godfather's guitars on Wednesday. I was telling you off air. I went up, set up 3 guitars that day, and one of them I couldn't finish because the frets is like a country road. Every 3rd one was fretted out, pretty much from the 5th fret going forward. But
ouch,
I missed on most of them. But then I went to bend a note, and it sounded like when it's binding through the neck, it was literally go plink, plink, plink. I'm like, what the hell is up with this fret? Like, looking at it, I couldn't see any ski jumps, but clearly the string was binding across the fret.
Wow.
And I've never come across, so I'm like, all right, back off the strings, get out my jeweler file, and because I don't have a crowning file on hand, which I could just ding it, crowning file, which would I'd like to do, but instead, no. All of a sudden, Ben has to be advanced fret work, like, oh, you're just going to do it jeweler's files. I do not want to recrown a fret with just jeweler's files. But I did.
Maybe it took a tip forward and something hit it and smacked the fret with the string and couldn't quite see it.
Yeah, because it was almost like, like frets down in the cowboy chord position. You expect like that dink, dink, dink. But
yeah,
it was at the 15th fret. And I was just, what's going on? What's up, Andy Carson?
Yeah, that's weird. I've never.
Yeah, and he's like, what is that sound? I'm like, something I've never heard and have to fix now right in front of you. Great.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Where's my sanding beam? It was funny when I was getting this done. He called me up, right? And he's like, well, I leveled the frets, but I can't find my tools. You're going to have to come pick it up and get this other guy to finish it. No charge. And I'm like, and I was there the day I brought it in. He was really busy. And I'm like, well, when I was there, you set your tool bag in the case. Look in the case. And he's like, oh, man, I'm going to go look right now. And he came back. Dude, thank God you're observant. That's where they were, So he's getting older, and he's like, he didn't realize that he set the tools in my case. I'm like, you didn't see him when you opened the case again to get the guitar out? Whatever. Yeah, it's like, there they were.
That sounds like someone else taking advantage of lifestyle choices. Just say it.
Yeah, well, you can't do that here. It's not legal. So, but I wouldn't doubt if he's, having a little,
Yeah, once a hippie, always a hippie.
Once a hippie, always a hippie. He's a good guitar player.
A blackjack guitar?
He did over tighten the truss rod too much.
Mm-hmm.
When I got it home, I had to loosen it up, and it was a turn too tight, like a full turn. Yeah, I'm like, don't do that, dude. This is a Gibson.
I'm just wondering how humid was his shop where it was probably needed to be cranked down because it was that humid. But then as soon as you bring it to a normal environment, then it's, it will.
Well, it's just hot there because he doesn't have no AC, right. And we're keeping it 72 in here. So it was just, it went from 90 something to 70 something and just went, right. Yeah. So I had to loosen it up. And
that was another problem I had on one of his guitars setting up was it was quite a back bow. And I'm like, okay, hopefully the truss rod's just been cranked down, I'll take it off half a turn. Good to go. Take off the truss rod cover, put a wrench on it. Oh no.
No.
I'm like, the truss rod was barely engaged. What's up, sis? And so, and again, I'm telling you, because this is a guy who doesn't do any of his own work on guitars. He'll pay somebody to restring the guitars, even though he's been playing, 60 years at this point. But and he's like, you sure you know what you're doing? I'm like, yes, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. And then all I'm thinking is, I'm backing off going, please be a two-way. Please be a two-way. Please be a two-way. And I turn that thing like a turn and a half. And I'm like, oh no. Like, I'm just waiting for the nut to come off, at the end. And all of a sudden, do I feel engagement?
A little bit of
another full turn the other way. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, thank God they put it to it. Which I swear, every new guitar made should have a two-way truss rod.
Yeah, they should just come stock that way now.
What's the added cost to do it? $2 per guitar? To make it a two-way instead of one-way?
Who knows?
It's not going to be that much. Ooh, thank you very much, Jim. Just a bit closer to owning that Explorer. Payments come around way too fast. Yes, tell me about it. I was looking at the stats for the month, and I'm okay for July 1st payment. August 1st, it's going to be tough. I may not be putting full amount on the cell phone that month.
Thanks for the follow too, JP Page. I saw that earlier. I need to post content.
Marshall Murray's asked, what is meant by two-way? So normally a truss rod, all a truss rod will do is when under tension, we'll put a back bow into a neck. And so as you back it off, all it will do is allow the neck to go forward. Now, a two-way, you will keep engaging to the point where it will put under tension to pull it forward or push it forward, push or pull forward that extra amount. What's up, Eddie Van Haskell?
Hey, John.
Ooh, I don't know. Do I answer that one? My knees hurt. I don't know. Don't usually like discussing that stuff publicly.
I'll tell you how much mine cost.
Well, let's say I worked out a deal. My knees hurt. Like, I'm doing promotional work for Long and McQuaid, like unofficially promoting them. Well, hence all the demos from Long and McQuaid this month. And normally, Scott, well, you've seen them. Normally, I'll just go in, shoot a demo. I'm not promoting their Monster Day sales. There's no promotion as part of the video. Hey, great Manzini.
If that was part of a deal, that's NDA material. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's just I don't get paid by Long McQuaid. I'm not an employee, but I am helping with some of their social media presence. We'll call it that, which is basically if they want something promoted, they're going to do it on my channel so they don't have to go through corporate, Scott. Because you can imagine it'd be like, like you own a Guitar Center franchise or whatever, or you're running a Guitar Center and you want to, promote X guitar, but you got to run it by corporate just to make a video. And, whereas they just say, screw it, Ben, here, just make a video on this. Hence the custom shop Les Paul. Dang, Andy Carson.
Right.
Thank you so very much.
Well, there's your August payment.
That will pretty much be the difference right there, I think, even after YouTube takes their cut. I think I was about $50 short. So, thank you very, very much, Andy. Appreciate it.
I saw Trev got along a McQuaid gift certificate for $50, and I'm like, what is that? 2 packs of strings Canadian, maybe 3.
2 packs of like the XS strings,
right?
Because those things, I was looking because I happen to have 2 packs with price tags on them. 1 pack was 20 and 1 was 22. Not that I put a pack of XS strings on the Explorer. Richard says, still wearing the same shirt as last week? I actually did laundry yesterday. So,
is that Toys in the Attic?
Yes.
Nice, my favorite.
Almost got given away, but it's a larger on the medium side. I'm packing up a bunch of my medium T-shirts to give to my nieces this week, and so I don't know. Do teenage girls enjoy Flipside music shirts?
Maybe.
It was funny because I mentioned to my one niece who's just finishing 9th grade. I was like, well, you'll be really in with the musicians if you're wearing like a Gator Cases T-shirt around. Because it's not like just Fender or Gibson. Like Gator Cases, you're kind of like, you're in the industry, type thing. Like normal people don't wear that stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All day, all night. It was dye. They dye the fretboards, and they didn't clean it off good enough. And it took me 2 or 3 cleaning jobs to get it to where it wasn't staining my fingers anymore. And it doesn't smell anymore. I don't know what kind of dye they use in China, but I'm pretty sure it's toxic. And I even reached out to Sweetwater about that. I'm like, are you guys sure this isn't toxic?
I'm pretty sure they used motor oil.
It smelled bad. I wasn't.
What's up, Doug?
Yeah, it was not. I wasn't. Yeah, not cool. I'm like, I never smelled this in wood shop. This ain't right. But yeah, it's better now. And now that I've had it recrowned, it plays great. I just need to get the nut replaced. Speaking of, if you have a Floyd Rose, you cannot get original parts anymore.
No.
I bought this nut and they've changed the die. They're still made by Schaller, but they don't use the old die anymore.
Right.
So the string height is about 1 to 2 millimeters higher than it used to be. So you can't just retrofit it on a guitar anymore. That already has a nut, which sucks. And the front edge,
lowering that shelf that much more, and depending on neck thickness, you might be getting into truss rod cavity.
Yeah, you're getting into trouble. Yeah. Well, plus it doesn't have. You can't. It's flat. It's really flat now, and it doesn't have the stamp anymore. I thought it was fake at first, but I went and looked on the Floyd Rose site. And grab your Kramer and look at the nut where it meets the fretboard, and you'll see that there's a bevel.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, these don't have that bevel either. Which it's like it's just not the same thing anymore.
And you love the fact though that mine, it goes way past the end. Like it's definitely wider than. I always get a kick out of it.
It's supposed to have that bevel on it. That's there for a reason.
Yeah.
But they don't have that anymore. So be aware if you need Floyd Rose parts, that some of the stuff that they sell now is not direct replacement. And they need to have that listed on the products, I think, that these need to be. People need to know that this is not a direct replacement anymore. Because I wasted $30, $36 on a nut that I can't use. I'm sure they'll let me return it, but still. Because I tried to put it on the Epiphone, because they put an R5 nut on it, which is 45 millimeters wide, and the neck is only 43 millimeters wide at the nut. So I needed an R3, which is 42.85 millimeters.
Yeah. Which, good luck finding one.
Yeah, I'm having trouble finding one. I looked on eBay and Reverb, and there's none. So I'm hoping one of my friends has one in their stash that I can buy and throw on there. Because see, I bought a nut for something else last year, and it was still the old style, so I just went, oh well, I could get one, you know.
Right.
So that was kind of disappointing. I mean, it's not a big deal, but you know, I want parts that actually work.
Guitar Man 45 got this shirt from his daughter today.
All right. Looks like I can't quite see the first chord, but we got A and D.
I'm going to assume it's
it looks
D.
like open G. It's okay. So you got G, A, and D.
No, I think it's a D. It's just a fold in the shirt. So it's a best dad ever.
Oh. So, D, A, D. Got it.
That's an option, Billy. Maybe an FU tone nut.
That's just a Godo nut. The FU tone trims are just rebranded Godos. So, yeah.
That I would disagree with.
No, they are. They're exactly the same. I look
That's
at one.
not what I heard from Adam.
He just has them manufacture them for him, I guess. They do that.
Yeah. No, I think he actually went Shaler. That's why I'm saying instead of Godo. He might have actually get the Shaler stuff. That I'm not sure, but it's a little foggy. What's up, BC Rick 581?
The saddles and stuff look identical to the Godo that I have on the Washburn. So it's a great trim. I love it. It's hard. It's hardened steel. It's a good trim. I have no issues with it. So
Jeff Ripplinger. God damn. No, it wouldn't be the same, Jeff. He says when buying Floyd Rose parts from FU Tone. No, because his stuff generally mates up with his bridge. But then again, yeah, he does sell just locking nuts and such too. So yeah, they like say though you're mixing. You don't want to mix Godo and Shaler necessarily.
Yeah, I don't want to mix.
But
I want a Floyd nut. So yeah, I'll just leave that one on there. The main thing is I don't like the spacing because on the low strings, the high E string plinks off the edge of the neck because it's too wide.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I need, you know. But it's minor stuff now. Now that the frets are taken care of.
What's up, Michael Easter?
Happy with the guitar. Somebody else asked something there. I think I missed it.
Thank you.
Oh, graphite. Is that for an Ibanez? Is that for the Edge Pro? Is that what you need a bar for? The one with the little nylon bits to push in style? I might be able to find you one of those.
Scott's good at locating stuff like that.
I have friends that have had guitar stores for like 40 years and they just have bins full of parts. I needed something for my Floyd on my Kramer, and my old guitar teacher was like, oh, I'll just send it to you. And I needed the wrench because it's got the old style,
right?
You know, wrench it on bar, you know, instead of the finger tight. And he's like, oh, and he sent me like 3 of them. He's like, here, you know, I don't need them.
Like I said, Graphite says, yeah, but left-handed. All right.
Oh, but left-handed. Oof. Yeah, good luck finding that.
Yeah, that's hard. Michael Easter says, my Made in Japan gem has a 0 edge trim, and I'm terrified of it. I need a hands-on class to learn it.
The thing with the edge trim is that you want to set it floating by the top angle, not the bottom angle.
Right.
Because they're wedge-shaped. And
you almost want to have it countersunk, like.
Yeah, you want to have it countersunk.
Like when a Floyd is cranked in too far, and like, what are you doing? It's like a lowrider. You got the ass all hanging down and the front end jacked up. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, if you get on Amazon, there's some Japanese tools that are made by what's the name of it? I have one. It's not Reverend. It's not Reverend. It's something else. They make an intonation tool, and it is so much better than the one that I sent you. Because I had bought a Skyscraper one too, because that one was also better. I just like,
right.
I'm probably going to send you the Skyscraper one too, because I have that new one, and it's just so easy. And they make them for Floyd Pros, and they make them for Ibanez ones too, which are incredibly difficult to intonate. Because Ibanez didn't sell the tool. So.
What's up, Unfucking Believable?
Hey,
okay that you're late, I guess.
hey, Chris. You know, you didn't respond to my message, Chris, so I'm not sure if you're pulling my leg or not. He told me he had 3 pedals to send me, and he didn't respond to me. So,
the Red Bishop intonation tool?
Yes, that's it.
Jim Ray Hawkins, Wild Man. There we go.
Yeah, that's wow, what a game changer. You know, I would never use a key again. Not after that.
When I set the intonation on the Kramer, when I upgraded all the parts for the Floyd Rose, I didn't have any intonation tools or nothing. I just kind of eyeballed it. Hope for the best.
Red Bishop actually makes like 3 or 4 different ones for different trims. So it's great. They even make one for the old style Floyd that doesn't have fine tuners.
What's up, brother Tom?
Hey, Tom.
Oh, really? Guitar Man 45 says he doesn't have any edge trim. Okay, yes, yet. Okay, only Ibanez he has is about 25-year-old pickup at Motor City. Okay. Oh, Landmine pedals. Never heard of them.
3.
I didn't see that, Tom. I don't see anything held back in the StreamYard chat for whatever reason. Chorus and distortion.
Did Zim give you those? He was going to have me fix some stuff, but then he found a local guy. So I heard Tom got a new twin.
Did he?
Yeah, it was what he mentioned it right at the end of Pete's stream.
So Tom's giving me all the views tonight. He has to keep refreshing the feed apparently, because I don't know. People are cursing. I don't know what in the chat why comments are being held, but that's a moderator problem, Scott. Comments being held that's a moderator problem. That's not my problem as host. I delegated.
Somebody over on Phil's channel didn't like me and was removing all my comments, so I unsubbed.
Weird.
Yeah, and I'm like, I wasn't ever rude to Phil. I don't, whatever. They did the same thing on TTK's channel. I think I don't think they like the comment that I left about their guitar.
It's the emojis. Well, there's one person that does like to use a lot of emojis when greeting people. I'm not mentioning any names. I'm not saying a word.
Distortion Plus, I can fix that in my sleep.
Bo's asking, what's the soda flavor? Because I know Scotty can't drink a lot of them anymore, but he is a bit of a soda pop aficionado. And I know that because he's like, when I unboxed the soda, he's like, that Ruby Red, you're going to enjoy that. And yes, I've been craving it ever since I had it.
That was my go-to.
So, I'm drinking the Stewart's Orange and Cream Soda. Which tastes just like on there, like a creamsicle. Which I hated growing up, but I love now.
I've been bad this month. I've been having a few root beers because you were doing the root beer tastings. And I was like, oh, man, I'm hankering for a mug. And my mom bought some Dads, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm drinking that. Don't drink it all. We need it for the root beer floats. And yeah. Okay, I didn't drink it all.
I got a Dad's blue cream soda the other day to try.
Never had that.
No, it looks like Washington, though. I'm not sure.
I used to love birch beer and ginger ale, and that was always my go-to in sarsaparilla. I like that kind of stuff, the more root things.
Whitney says, I like sarsaparilla. Makes me feel like an old-time Western gunfighter.
Makes me feel like I'm playing Fallout New Vegas.
Exactly.
I won't talk about video games.
And all people mention various soda pop comments. Love it. Love it. 63 people watching. Love it. Yeah, that's not really an option, Tom. Well,
You try to limit yourself to 3.5 grams a day, Tom? I don't believe you.
Wait, he said the key word is try.
Try.
Try. Tom's talking. See, you can tell Tom has teenage sons too. He knows all about the video games, and I do not.
Well, Tom, there's this little mod for it called TL2 Wastelands, and I made it. You might want to go check it out.
There you go.
Oh, so
that's the point, Amanda. She doesn't like pop much. It makes her burpy. Well, carbonated beverages. You don't have to drink them all at once. Sip on it. Easy.
So, who wants a tip for a great wah pedal at a cheap price?
You know, I think there's at least 3 people watching right now, and another 3 that are like, "Oh, do tell," but they're reserving judgment. So, yes, an affordable, good-sounding wah. Who doesn't like that?
Everybody's familiar with these, right? The old Dunlop Crybaby.
I got one.
I got a tip for you.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the base plate, and if you see, it's got the serial number here, and it's stamped.
Yeah.
Look for one that starts with CB00, and I'll show you why. And I have run across several of them now, and I have 2.
Okay. What's up, Mark?
This was the first year that they made them. So they have leftover Thomas organ parts in them. If I can get the bottom off it.
No, clearly mine's much newer. It doesn't even have that plate.
Yeah. This is an 80. I think it's an 80. 81
this is not.
maybe.
This is maybe 10, 15 years old at the most.
Plus, this is silver instead of the new. Here's a silver. Yeah, it still has that. Oh, yeah. I can't get the bottom off this.
This has an LPD mod in it.
Anyway.
What's up, DJ Play Nice?
It's got the original 5117 transistors in it, and it has the stack of dimes inductor, and that's the magic part.
You do want the stack of dimes. Yep. What's
you
up,
want
Josh?
The stack of dimes. So, and I see these all the time for like $40, and it sounds just as good as any vintage Thomas organ because it's got the stack of dimes in it.
Sure.
So, and they may sometimes they have green E-caps, sometimes they have the older rolled film.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a mix, you know, and another thing, they don't have a DC jack on the side. So that's another way that you can tell if you can't see the serial number. There's no DC jack on it. And the finish is also shiny like the old Thomas organs. It's not
there you go. Ryan says he's looking for a wah. There you go, Ryan. Find one.
There you go.
Mentions.
They pop up on Reverb and eBay all the time for dirt cheap. Mm-hmm. Like I got this non-working because the wire came off the pot for $25.
Nice.
Plus shipping, which was $20 because it's a wah pedal and it weighs a ton.
They weigh like 14,000 pounds. And
yeah. So that's my tip of the week for getting a really good vintage pedal for cheap that nobody knows about. Kind of they float under everybody's radar, and it's like.
So the early post-Thomas organ era.
Right after Dunlop bought the company.
Yep. Which makes sense. Yeah, they would have the leftover stock or inventory until used up.
And the circuit
Josh Babbitt says he's been trying to find an R2R wah to check out, but that some bitch has been a pain to find. I'd say so, because I've never heard of that myself. But then again, I'm not exactly an expert on the wahs.
You can get a Sabatius inductor from Small Bear too if you just want to swap, but you may have to do some creative things to get it installed because they've changed the footprint of the inductor in most of the wahs now, whereas the older ones had a whole bunch of different holes so they could use several different inductors on the same board. They don't have those anymore. They're made for the phasal and the reproduction halo that they use now.
Right.
By the way, those Clyde McCoy CM95s do sound great if you want a new one.
Mm-hmm.
I went and checked
It
one
plays
out.
hashtag oil can Morley. Nice.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple Morleys.
Yep.
I've got a
Morleys are cool. I like the
I've
fact
got
that it just automatic, just boom. No button to press. That's what I like.
I've got a power fuzz wah and a volume boost.
Nice.
I don't have a power wah boost yet. I'm looking for one.
Yet.
Yeah. That's on the want list.
Ooh, $600 for a wah. No deal. Billy Boy, I feel like Kurt Hammett would love this combo. Yeah.
Can I add the upgrade to an old Morleys don't use an inductor.
No.
Morleys are they use a what's called a I think it's a pi filter or a twin T filter. So they use an active circuit. Although I do rebuild Morleys and I can make them safe with a grounded power cable and stuff, which I've done to mine.
Richard's asking, what's your favorite power supply?
My favorite power supply, Chalks.
Okay, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, they're expensive, but they do what I need because they have 9, 12, and 18. Plus, they have the 24-volt feed through,
right?
Which is good if you have some of the EH pedals that need 24 volts. So.
Ferd asks, I got a Rogue WP101 wah pedal. Any good? It works okay.
Those Rogue pedals were like $25 new. So if it still works, consider yourself lucky.
If you can get 25 uses out of it, it's paid for itself. They're
made out of plastic. We used to sell them in our shop. They were like the cheap Christmas wah. That and the Dan Electro Food series. That was our, because they were $20, when they were new in the clamshell plastic. Those were great sellers, man. They just sold like hotcakes. Yeah, they did. Yeah, I like the Chalks. Somebody asked what's on my pedal board. Who was that?
It's an ever-changing thing, probably like me.
Yeah, it's an ever-changing thing, but there's some mainstays. Like the wah is one of the mainstays. I do love my K-Line Pure Sky. I love that overdrive. It's a Timmy clone, but I'm going to get a real version to you, Timmy, but I just don't have $250 to drop on one right now.
Right.
Because I don't want a mini one. I know MXR makes them, but I don't want a mini. I don't like mini pedals. It's too much of a hassle to route cabling. So
I don't mind. I got one mini pedal on the board right now.
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
It's the.
I did have a Phase 95 on my board until the other day. You can attest to that. It's been replaced since we were hanging out the other day.
Yeah, I have a Mosky EP booster, which is a clone of the Exotic one.
Sure,
but that's just until I fork out for the Chase Tone. So the Chase Tone is on my list too. So, and then I have, let's see, what else do I have? I have my Peterson Strobo Stomp. That's like the first thing. And I have it set to true bypass mode. Then I have a Demon Effects, their Blues Breaker clone. I can't remember the name of it. And it had spots on the circuit board for the switches to turn it into a Morning Glory. So I put the switches in it. And that's like, and I have a K-Line Hot Mushroom. Even though I have the Sir compressor, I bought that Hot Mushroom like locally it was $20. So I was like, okay, I'll buy it. It's a compressor, I'll try it. I was like, wow, this thing sounds great. And it just stayed. It sounds better in my Dynacomp too. So I was just like, okay, I don't know what it is. I haven't opened it up yet.
I got to at least borrow a Dynacomp to see if I want one or not. That's the one comp I haven't tried yet, and I've been going through a lot of comps over the last couple of years.
Right. Man, it's hard to find one that you like.
Well, it is because like I know what I want it to do, but none of them do what I want them to do, which is make my hands into a chicken picking tone, and that doesn't happen. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter what guitar is plugged in. Well, you got to use a Telecaster. Tried, didn't work. I'm just as lucky to plug a Wolfgang in and let that compress, and it's going to give me the same chicken picking compressed tone.
Right.
So
Dynacomp or Orange Squeezer clone of some kind will give you that.
Well, I'm quite happy. The current one that's on the board is the Diamond compressor. So.
The Diamond compressor is a great compressor, but it's more of a limiter than a compressor. So it's not really going to do the country thing.
But it's got some optics in it, which I like optical compressors.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know that.
Optical compressors.
I got a Made in Japan CS2.
Yeah.
And guess what? I don't like it.
You don't like it because it's noisy, right?
No, I don't like it because it's
squishy.
I can't get it to work at unit. You got to do a volume boost too, and I don't want it. Like I don't need a lead boost too.
Right. That's why I like the Hot Mushroom, because I can get it to unity.
Yeah. Well, like someone told me, just get a Boss compressor and like a Marshall, just dime everything.
Dime it, right? Yeah.
And I do that. And I'm like, okay. Now with my other guitar player with his lead boost on, I'm still drowning him out because I have this thing called Headroom.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought, hey, don't you need a Fender amp as well? But oof. I do want to try the Cali 76. I will say that. I don't know which one, but whatever. I want to venture down that road.
That's going to give you your 80s metal clean tones like Def Leppard and that really sparkly, spanky clean tone. It'll go great with your CS2 or your CE2. Excuse me.
Yeah.
That'll give you that.
The CE2 doesn't like isolated power on my pedal board. Mm-hmm. Like I got to run it off a daisy chain. It likes daisy chains.
You must have one that needs an ACA.
I do.
Okay. Well, if I was in Canada, I'd say send it to me and I'd put a jumper in it so you didn't need to do that. But it's like a one jumper to get rid of that. So
right. I think Lawrence offered the same thing.
Yeah, it's really easy.
Although on isolated power, the LED only lights up part way, and it does this really cool CE1 kind of that gritty CE1 sound. Mm-hmm. Almost how like a good Phase 90 will add that little bit of grit. And I was like, "Ooh, I like that." That's not what I want it to do, but I like that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else is on my board right now. I have the BB Plus, the BBMB thing. Mm-hmm. And that's like my metal tone. And then, I got a micro amp.
Nice, right?
I got a vintage one, and I love it. I love that pedal. That is like, I'm trying to think of what I have. I've got something right after it, and I can't remember what it is. And then I have like a K-Line clear veil fuzz that I've modded.
Mm-hmm.
And then my big yellow MXR chorus.
Right.
I'm still looking for.
Is it the stereo chorus like same as mine except older?
I've got the big 70s yellow 3-knob that the EVH is modeled after.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say mine's the 5-knob stereo.
Yeah, yours has the bass and treble controls.
Yeah, which I dig.
Well, I have another one up there. I don't know if you can see it, but I have two of them. I'm still looking for another MXR flanger because I'm going to convert that one to DC to put on my board. That's what I did with the. That's what I did with the other big yellow. Is I took the AC power cable out of it and changed it to 18-volt DC input. So that's why I need a Chox power supply because I can run it. I wish I could do that with the EQs, but the EQs use a dual polarity 15-volt supply, so it's plus minus 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, man, how am I going to do that? And I'm like, the only way I can really think of is to put a 1/4-inch jack in it, like the old DoD pedals, so that it has a stereo jack, so I can run positive and negative. That's the only thing I can think of because I really don't like the transformer because you can hear the hum.
Josh says he likes those MXR stereo choruses. 180 used at Long McQuaid. They have one in right now. They're really going up, it seems. Like
I
think
the
I paid, I want to say 100 or 120 for it. I paid, and that was in 2020. Yeah, 2020 off Sean Pierce Johnson. And and again, I was like, I knew he was investing. I wasn't asking for a deal, but he was going to give me a bit of a deal, which whatever. I'm like, whatever, dude, because I bought a group of pedals off of them, but yeah, nothing's been on my board since. But I do want to try the MXR flanger. I think I have the flanger I want on there, so it's like King of the Hill, right? Give me a better flanger to knock it off my board. I dare you. So, and that's the Korg flanger, which is based off
that Korg flanger is cool.
They are really cool. They have really cool flangey. Like to the point you look at, most of my settings are like the 10 o'clock position because it's a lot of flanger. So it's just like
you like that jet flange sound.
Yeah.
MXR is not going to do that.
No,
it's more.
No, but it does that thing that I like, that soupy flange thing.
Yeah, it does the soupy thing, but it's got to be an old one with the Redicon chip in it. The Panasonic chips don't do that. That's why I bought the big old MXRs, because I bought one of the new ones and I didn't like it. It's like, this doesn't sound right. And then I bought the old one and tried it. Oh, there it is. And then I bought another one because it was cheap. That was right before they went up in price. So,
what's up, Jay Santiago? He says, I saw the guitar parts on stereo were mostly recorded through Rockman effects. It was all Rockman.
All Rockman.
Stereo. It was all.
You'd be amazed how many records in the early 80s were through the Rockman.
Yep. Which I thought, I always just thought, Boston tone. And then when our friend RJ Ronquillo put it the Rockman thing, and the first thing he played was Hysteria. And I went, holy crap on a cracker. Because I just thought chorus, overdrive, whatever, 80s. I didn't realize it was literally just a Rockman. So
tons of stuff is ADA MP1 too.
Yep.
Just direct because of the chorus in it. Sounds really nice because it's analog. So somebody asked something and I lost it. Oh well, sorry.
Let's see. We got the Nobles ODR1 Mini on the board now.
Oh, nice.
The little dark.
Yeah, they're dark.
Yeah, but
they're great for telly. I mean,
I actually haven't really played on it with single coils too much, but
I got to try it.
Nice because I hit it with my Dutchman, which is kind of like a Timmy, and those two, which is quite bright. So together, very full sound, very full.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing with the Blues Breaker and the Pure Sky, because the Blues Breaker is dark and the Pure Sky is brighter. And it kind of evens it out, so I get
and they don't take away from each other; they just complement each other.
Yeah, they complement each other. And I have the EP booster on all the time with the gain all the way down, right at the end of the chain, just to get that Echoplex preamp sound, because it takes that harsh harmonics out of distortion pedals. Like you just plug it in and it just changes it. It sounds great. And I remember now. Richard asked me what I was using for the fuzz, and besides the K-line, I bought Mad Bean Pedals was selling some of his personal stuff, so I bought a Wolf shirt off him, which is a clone of a Fox Tone machine, and he used original transistors and diodes, and it sounds killer. So I'm using that as an octave fuzz.
Nice. Richard was also asking, what's your delay these days?
Or
do you use a delay?
I usually use one, but I like the FX90, the DoD one. That's current favorite, but see that big blue one up there?
Yep.
That's an old DoD, but the SAD 4096 in it went bad. And those are like unobtainium. And that's the delay that I like. I don't, because it does about 550 milliseconds.
Okay.
I don't like the big green MXR one because it's only about 300 milliseconds, and that's too tight for me. I like it about 450, right in there. So I don't really have one. I bought the Bell Epic, and I hate it because it doesn't have any headroom. I'm like, why does it distort? And I'm like, I don't want that. I've had Echoplexes. They don't do that.
No.
Not unless you really can't crank that gain control. Then they start to distort, but it's got no headroom at all. Mm-hmm. So I don't like it. And I'm probably going to sell it because I used it for like a week.
You got to have headroom through my pedals and amp. If I got headroom in the amp, I need headroom in my pedals to get to the amp.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to hear crunchy. If I want that, I'll plug an analog delay in. You know, I want tape echo sound without, because tape is pretty high headroom. I mean, so I'm disappointed in that. And I do have a DD2 that I like, but the mix control is too sensitive because I like to run things before the amp, just because I'm old school and that's how we did stuff, and that's the sound that I like. I don't like it in the loop. It's too clean, and I don't like the delay after the reverb. I don't like that. That's not a thing that I like. So I always run it first. So I'm kind of looking at a Halo because I know that Andy does the same thing, and they tweaked that mix control to not just all of a sudden be on, so you can run it in front. It's more subtle in terms of, so I'm going to try and get a Halo eventually because I think that'll do what I want. And I like the sound of it because I think it sounds glorious.
I run everything into the front of my amps because I run my amps clean. So
right. Well, I run them kind of crunchy, not super clean, but not dirty. You know.
Yeah.
I can roll back and clean up, but
sure. I think I don't know, for whatever reason I've always built my boards for backline provided shows, even though I've only ever played one backline provided show, and I blew up the amp. Because I asked for a half stack, and they gave me a Blues Junior. A Blues Junior isn't a half stack.
A Blues Junior is not a half stack. Oh, man.
And apparently it did not like an MXR full bore metal with a drop C Les Paul hitting it. The amp was literally dancing around on the stage before it started to fall apart.
Well,
and it lasted half an hour.
Yeah.
And when I was done with it, it was literally falling apart. And the promoter said, "What did you do to my amp?" And I said, "Not my problem, dude." He says, "You're paying for that." I said, "Not my problem. I asked for half stacks. That's on you, dude."
Yeah, it's like you can't play with a live metal band with a Blues Junior.
Yeah, it was collapsing. It was just collapsing.
That's not going to work. I would be like,
because I just had it dimed. I'm like, how is this going to, like, are you miking it? For what? I'm like, to keep up with drums? But apparently, like, we were the only full band.
Oh, no.
Like, a lot of it was a lot of singer-songwriter solo people and duos.
Right.
And then for some reason, they had us, it was headlining this festival.
And then you get the sound guy who's only done DJ stuff before, and all you hear, you go out on the floor, and all you hear is bass and keyboard. You know, you can't hear the guitar, you can't hear the vocals. You know,
we show up for loading in because I forget what time the festival ended, but it was like ending at like 8 p.m. or something, and they were running late. We were supposed to play an hour, whatever. Then it turned into half an hour, and then it turned into 3 songs. At which that's time when the promoter, because we were outside, I wouldn't even walk into the venue. I'm like, we'll discuss this outside before loading in. And he's like, okay, you guys can do 3 songs. And I turned around and I said, load it up, boys, we're headed home. And he said, you can't do that. You're our headline act. I said, we are not unloading our gear for 3 songs.
Yeah, oh, hell no. I'd be like, bye.
And then we agreed to a half-hour set, and then I saw backline provided. And yeah, and we just destroyed their gear. Didn't
care. Yeah.
Nope.
Did you get paid?
Barely.
Gas
money for 2 vehicles because it was 60 miles each way.
Here's $50, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it was $100, and we're just like,
$100.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow. Yeah. So it was funny because it was a multi-stage setup, and the guy who's doing sound on the other stage, we gave him a ride, and that other stage was still going. And he just left the soundboard and says, "I'm leaving with them. Get a ride home." Boner jams. Thank you.
Oh no.
The icon Scott Brockway has entered the Quebecers with ukuleles.
Now I need an electric ukulele.
During Fruitcake Tony's show last night, we had someone in the chat who was insisting that Canucks were only French Canadians, were the only Canucks. I was like, no, it's all. But as a result of explaining that to him several times during the live show, Canadian English, because all my ads today are in French. Every single one of them. So, Canadian English, whoever's listening, Canadian English only. English.
We're not newfies here, eh? You know.
I'll fix my ads. Andy Carson says, I have a beefcake distortion pedal from Lucky Dog Guitars. Great pedal. Basically, it's the Brown Sound in a box.
There's actually a pedal called the Brown Sound in a box. BSIAB.
I had the Brownie Distortion. That's right. Guess what it sounded like? Sold it to Randy Crooks.
Well, hey, as long as somebody likes it.
Richard asks, what was Scott's first pedal?
Well, the one in my avatar, of course.
I'm like looking for your avatar now. I want to say a Phase 90?
MXR Distortion Plus.
Distortion Plus. All right. See,
that was my
I knew it was an MXR, but it's teeny tiny. All right.
Second pedal was the very first Boss preamp, which I wish I still had because Josh Scott would give me like $1,000 for it or something if I still had it, but I don't. Because that, yeah. Third pedal, Phase 90. That was number 3.
Nice. It's hard. I can't say I have a first pedal because I got 3 pedals at once, which was the Boss power supply pedal, the CE2, and the distortion feedbacker in a deal, which I traded my bass rig and I got those pedals and some cash.
Didn't your dad give you that fuzz first, or?
I got it right around that same time.
Same time, yeah. So it could be any of that.
Yeah. And then, wait, did I get the pedals first? I was trying to think, or did I get, because I got 2 pedals when I got my Les Paul as well, which was another CE2 and an MXR Distortion Plus, which I immediately sold because an MXR Distortion Plus into a Fender Vibrolux sounds like ass.
Ooh, yeah, and that's no.
But I immediately took it to school, Scott, and went to my fellow guitar players. This is what Randy Rhoads used back in the day. And they're like, I'll give you $50 for that.
Okay.
Which in 89.90, yes, please. I will take $50.
I could go buy a bag of weed with that and have money for munchies. You know?
Like, I think at my job, I think I was only making like $3.85 or $4 an hour working for my parents at the restaurant. So I was like, yeah, that's like 2 shifts worth of work for
heck yeah.
Old.
$50.
Billy's dating himself when he says his first pedal was a Ross phaser. I'm just saying, he's dating himself.
Well, I mean, I'm dating myself too, being a distortion player. It was a block litter, but it was a 70s one. 79, I think.
Or you got Lee in here saying most right fuzz. You know your old when.
Yeah, designed by Ed Sanner. I'm a pedal nerd. I know these things. I actually have the transistors.
Jay Santiago says, I learned last summer that hardly any guitarists in Hawaii play electric because the salt in the air ruins electronics.
It does.
I can see, especially with all those oceanside bars, like all the venues, you're basically just out in the elements, more or less.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the humidity factor. And
I've seen pictures of tweed amps over there, and they're just rust. It's caked. Also, happy birthday, Symmetry.
Yes. He's still older than me.
He's still older than me too.
And I'm going to say a year or two older than Pete Thorne, who just had a birthday.
And I think John DeShane is older than me too. Just by a little bit.
There we are. And strings. Oh yeah, you're changing your strings every show. Like you're just hoping your strings last the show, basically. It's like soundtrack, guitar gets wiped down, immediately goes back in case, closed until showtime. Like I wouldn't even want to leave it out on a stand between sets.
I changed all my strings like 3 days ago.
Nice.
I've gotten good at it again. I can do a Floyd Rose again in 20 minutes. Beautiful. Without locking tuners. What else did I have?
Michael Cross is in here. I'm just looking at my board these days.
I have a pedal that I got that I haven't shared with anybody yet.
See, Andy, thanks again for the super chat, my friend.
I've been keeping stuff secret.
Yes.
In order to prepare for the show, it's like, well, the wah pedal was one of them.
And
I got this guy.
Ooh, the digital delay.
Yeah, the digital delay.
Does that have 2 LEDs?
Yes, it does. It has infinite repeat mode if you hold it down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it does up to, I think it does 1 second. Yeah, it does up to a second, which is pretty good for a pedal.
Nice. It looks like Treb's grilling a 26-ounce New York strip.
Oh, I'm jealous.
That's the way to celebrate a birthday.
I'm having chili later.
Nice. My niece says, Floyd Rose, no locking tuners. Thoughts on putting the ball end of the string on the tuning peg end? That's what I do.
Don't do it. It ruins your tuners.
I do.
Also, the low E one won't fit through the tuner.
Oh, mine does.
Doesn't on my guitars.
Yeah,
usually
I've
the
always
hole
done
is
it
too small.
since high school because I put 4 winds because it would always snap at the saddle.
Oh. Also,
then you get the lovely kinked string for the first fret.
I use Diodarios too, so you can't do that because the ends of the string aren't wound all the way up.
Ooh, oofda. All right, here's Trev reporting in. Oh, that just looks all kinds of. That looks all kinds of good. Yep, I'd eat that. Perfect.
Actually, Arian pedals have lasted. They're actually really good. The Japanese made ones, they're tough.
They look like they should fall apart, but
the Rock Tech ones now, those ones fall apart.
I've got 2, and one kind of works.
And
one works, and one sometimes. Well, for the longest time, the delay. The on-off switch wouldn't work, so you just had to plug it in and hope it turned on as you plugged it in. But then all of a sudden it started where it would default off when I plugged it in, so it doesn't work anymore. So I just got to wait until it goes back the other way.
Probably just needs the jack soldered. They come loose from the circuit board.
But
one of these days I'm going to come up and visit, and I'll just go through all your gear for you while I'm there. Lawrence Cash. Yeah, I have a TS5 right over there.
Nice.
Then I have a vintage Tube Screamer and a late 90s one. And I sold
my niece heard that's a Ben Tom question as far as I'm concerned. 8 ohm versus 16 ohm speakers. My amp can do either. What speakers do I buy ohm wise? I don't know.
Well, it depends. 412, 212, single 12 depends. It depends, like Dave would say.
Yeah. Well, he says his amp could do either, but I don't know if it's a Marshall, go with 16 ohm because that's what Marshalls seem to like.
Yeah, you can buy.
Well, plus if you go higher ohm, wouldn't that in theory be more resistance so you can actually turn it up a little more?
No, it doesn't. The transformer, it's the ratio between that controls the power. It's a 12. It's a 212. I would get 2 16s, or yeah. Then you can run them in parallel, and you have 8 ohms.
There you go. It's an orange dark terror. There you go.
Yeah. So you just wire them in parallel, and you'll have an 8 ohm load. Or you can get 2 4 ohms and wire them in series and get an 8 ohm load.
Yeah. Or get 2 8 ohms, wire them in series and get 16 ohm, but you didn't want
16 ohm. Well, Marshall cabs are series parallel, so you have 2 speakers in series and then the 2 pairs in parallel.
Right.
That's how they're wired.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because they're 16. They're all 16, so you have 32, 32, and then 32 divided by 2 is 16. So that's how they...
Okay, and Guitar Man says I run my Marshalls in 8 ohms at full stack. Of course you do.
Yeah. Well, because 2 16s would be 8. Yeah. 2 16s.
Michael Chris says, the lower the ohm, the sweeter the tone. Actually, I just made that up. I have no idea. But it sounds good, Michael.
It does.
Vox runs in series. Okay. I don't know. I just crank it up, play it.
The bigger the cushion, the sweeter the pushing. Know what I mean? Yeah. Sorry, I had to throw in Spinal Tap reference. But this one goes to 11.
Yep.
Your Marshall goes to 20, I think, doesn't it?
Ten. It only goes to 10.
Useless.
Might as well throw it out. It's useless.
It's got to go to... Have you heard what Nigel says now? He said, oh, my amps now, they go to infinity. I figure if I can't play as good as Yngwie, I might as well be louder. I can't wait till the new movie comes out. It's going to be great.
Jay says, I watched the Dream Theater live vid with Devin and Tosin. I thought it was incredible. Haven't seen it, but then again, I don't think I've heard Dream Theater since my cousin played me Dream Theater in like 1996.
Yeah, I didn't like Pull Me Under, and I don't like that band.
I was like, wow, that's, it's technical, but it's not my thing.
Yeah, it's not my thing. I like Devin Townsend, though.
Yep.
I really like him.
He lives right around the Birthday Boys neighborhood. He lives near Trev.
I like this band. Thank you, Scientist. And then I've been on an Yngwie kick lately, so I bought this.
Nice.
And I bought the Steve Vai one too, but it fell on the floor. I got to pick it up. Actually,
so it's lost forever.
Yeah, it's like, well, things fall under the desk. I'm not getting under there.
No.
That's why I have this thing.
Smart man.
Yeah, I got and this has a DVD in it too. It has the live show in Japan.
Nice.
It's really cool. And it didn't say that.
It's hard to believe. Yeah, if you find any video, because that's so back in the day.
Yeah, it's like
outside of a TV station sending cameras down, essentially, or something.
I wish I could get the Aussie show when they played on MTV with Brad Gillis.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't the same as the Speak of the Devil. They didn't play any Sabbath except they played their regular set with all the Randy songs.
Okay.
And Brad really pulled it off good. Mm-hmm. I would love to have that on DVD or Blu-ray actually, but it was made for broadcast TV back then, so DVD is probably the best quality you're going to get. I would love to have that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know me. I'm a huge Ozzy fan. So Ozzy's dying. Kind of sucks.
I've been thinking that since I discovered Ozzy.
Yeah. Well, no, he's really dying now. I kept hoping that Sharon would go away first. So.
I'm not any rocker that makes it into their 70s. Well, any musician that makes it into their 70s, that's like 120 in human years. Because...
Oh, especially Ozzy. Jeez, he's pushing 80. He's like 150.
Yeah, you're going to age more. If you go out and tour back in the day, like bus touring, as opposed to flying dates. Flying dates isn't touring. That's flying in. But touring back in the day, even if you didn't party, it's still aging you because you're trying to sleep in a moving vehicle, different hotel room every night. You're not getting the proper sleep patterns and all this.
Right.
Now you're doing the partying and abusing the body. Now you're aging at like 3 to 4 times the rate.
Yeah, because you're drinking and drugging and eating terrible food and staying up too late and playing with the ladies all night. And, it's like, it's really hard on you,
Yeah.
I mean.
Exactly. Yeah. Take this to go get up and this to go to bed. And
yeah, the rock and roll lifestyle, I lived it for a while. It sucked. I felt like shit all the time. It's like, okay, you have to do stuff in order to function. It was like,
I knew the point I needed to settle down, Scott, was when I had 2 beers to feel normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, oh, I feel tired. I feel nauseous. I feel like shit. Like basically withdrawal symptoms. And then you have a couple of beers and you're like, oh, now I feel normal.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're not sober, but you feel normal. And normal is the non-sober version. I'm like, okay, we gotta.
We'd be sitting in the green one. No, go, no show. Had to have it. Plus working, because you couldn't make any money. Of course, back in I got the tail end of it, we could actually make a little money. It's not like now where it's like you have to pay to play. Can you believe that? It's like you have to pay to play. What?
Yeah, like at least I don't mind the pay to play with potential, which was like when I opened for Anvil, I had to pay for a bunch of tickets to Anvil so Anvil could get paid, whatever.
Right.
But literally, it was like you bought them at 15, sold them for 20. So if once you sold the first 25, now I'm making money, And being a promoter type, I made a point of selling out all our tickets and then asking the promoter for more, which then all of a sudden we went from being here on the bill to direct support for the band. And yeah, and there are people like, oh, I wouldn't do those shows down there. You got to pay to play. And I was like, well, we made $60 opening for Anvil. They're like, oh, you made only $60. So it's like, yeah, well, the band that opened for us paid $80 to play on that bill because they didn't sell all their tickets. So.
Well, we used to make money selling merch. We had records and tapes and T-shirts and stickers and
and that's the thing. And then we made our money off merch exactly because you're guaranteed to make $100 in merch.
Yeah, easily because there's going to be some fan there and they're going to want everything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was what I noticed. I always liked it when I saw the ladies at the shows. One, more guys showed up because the ladies were at the shows. But if a guy liked your band, Scott, he's going to buy a T-shirt or a CD, or what. Whereas if a girl liked your band, she bought fucking everything.
Everything, yeah.
Including because they know it gets you down to the road to the next show. And when they discover a band they like, they're like, I want to do everything I can. So here's what can I buy for $80 type thing. You're like, everything here. Take a bit of everything. What year was that my knees hurt? I don't know. Is Mark Taft still in the chat? I want to say 2014, 2015 range. I don't know that. Again, those years are kind of blurry.
I haven't played a show since like 2002, I think.
The last show I played was 2019, I want to say. Maybe.
That was a long time ago.
And I was subbing for a bass player, basically.
I was the bass player. It's weird being a guitar player and ending up the bass player in the band because nobody else could play bass.
Well, and that was the thing. And I didn't mind, like, okay, if you're calling me to fill in on bass, I'm just writing root notes and playing with a pick and just basically filling out the sound. I'm not there to actually be a bass player. I'm just filling out the sound. And thank you, Mark. It's 2015.
Rewrote all the bass parts.
And I remember I got the phone call at like 4:30 in the afternoon, and he's like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Nothing, well, do you want to play bass? Okay. And the reply was like an hour later, should I bother sending you the set list? No, I'm not going to learn it in the next 2 hours. So I might as well just go in blind.
Yeah.
And, but it's classic rock, and Scott, you know how it is. It's like, okay, I've heard the song 1,000 times, right? So it's like, when the changes are, and it's just like, what key are we in, basically?
Yeah.
And you're playing like Copperhead Road. Okay, well, you just ride the D. The G is coming at some point, And then you're like, okay, and you remember, okay, it's just quick turnaround. So G, back to the D. What's up, Laverna?
Right.
Hello. What's the best program for guitar records? Or do you mean to record guitar?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Like, you mean a DAW?
Like, yeah, best DAW? Like, for home recording?
It depends. Do you have an Apple? Do you have a PC?
Mm-hmm.
Do you? Yeah, it's like, if you're going, I don't know about best. Easiest to get into, probably Reaper for PC and GarageBand for Apple.
Yeah. Exactly.
Those would be the free and
home
easy
recording.
to get into.
Yeah. Yeah, Reaper or GarageBand if you're on Mac. Yep.
Yeah. And if you want to upgrade later to, ProSonus or whatever, you can.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what Pete uses.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done any home recording in 10 years, I want to say, give or take.
I haven't done any home recording since we were still using 4-tracks.
And that I recorded in Audacity and used a bit of Reaper as well. But now, not to sound hoity-toity, but I just go into a studio. Like, if anybody wants me to play on anything, I just say send the stems to Lambert Drive Studios, and I'll arrange an appointment to go in and lay down my tracks, because it's Scott, I've tried doing the punching and myself and stuff, sitting here with the headphones. I need somebody to go, nope, do it again. Nope, do it again. Nope, do it again. There, you nailed it. Just keep looping that part over and over or whatever. What's up, Sean Hockey? Or I would have that where, if I'm laying a solo that's, say, 18 seconds, and I've nailed the first 10 or so, and I flubbed a note, okay, just punch me in there, and just keep looping that part until we get a nice run, and then there we go. Whatever. And then
I need someone else.
If you want to edit my solo, fine. I don't care.
Well, if I'm going to do a solo, I'd probably end up just I'd have to say make me a loop, come back in an hour, and then I'll have something ready to record.
Well, yeah, and if it's that 20-second portion or whatever, loop that 20 seconds for 2 minutes. So I can just play for 2 minutes, and then if I want to edit it down, I can do that. But I'm going to make it still sound natural. Not like I'm here and all of a sudden here and then back. No, it's going to make sense because generally I'll play over top. I'm like, okay, and that's where I am, and go from there.
Yeah, I'd want to sit and work something out, and then record it, double track it or whatever. And that's a process, and it's like just leave me alone for an hour so I can come up with something that I like.
Right.
Because I'm not going to just wing it. I can't do that. I mean, I can, but it's not going to be anything.
Well, my intro song for tonight, I think that solo is 2. I know it's at least 2 parts, maybe a third piece. Like there might be 2 edits to make it 3 parts, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I usually get ideas, but then I have
seems
to
the
work
left
them
and right
out.
side of the track. So I know, like, especially playing through the second track, it's like, oh, you got the first and third verses down, but the second, okay, well, let's punch in the second verse, whatever, or I'd say, oh, do you want me to just copy and paste the first verse into the second, or do you want to? No, I want to re-record the second.
Yeah.
Like, at least it's me playing all the way through, and it's not you looping me throughout a song.
Right. Yeah. I don't dig the whole put everything on the grid thing, and
I found terrible.
Takes all the life out of it. Just makes it sound stale and dead.
Right? He did that. He's like, let's just try. And he's like, ooh. I was like, what? He goes, you play all around the beat, but consistently. I'm like, yes. He goes, you cannot be aligned to grid. I'm like, no, I can't. No, it doesn't sound like me anymore.
It doesn't sound like me. Yeah, it's just like, well, because I know how to push and pull, play ahead and behind it,
and leaving space.
Yeah, create tension and I learned how to do that, and it's like, well, I want that there. Yeah, and that's intentional.
He's like, man, I can tell you've always played in bands with another guitar player. I said, why? He says, because when we were trying to lay down the dual tracks, left side, right side, he's like, you're playing off yourself all the time. You need to double it. You're doubling it. Don't play off yourself. I'm like, can't help it. and I'll do that because I know if I hit a pinch harmonic here on this side, I'll leave it here because I don't want 2 pinch harmonics because I'm not fucking Zach Wild with stereo pinch harmonic. But then on the other one, I know I didn't hit it on this pass through, so I will hit it on this side. So it sounds like you are playing off each other.
It'd be like trying to align Van Halen. You would take all the feel out of the music because Ed and Alex had the swing. If you took all the swing out, it wouldn't be Van Halen. No. It's just like, yeah, it's, I don't like that. I don't understand that whole thing. It's just like you're turning it into something that's not music. You're not expressing anything in here. You're having a machine dictate to you. It's just like, I mean, the digital recording technology is fantastic, but don't abuse it. Don't use it as a crutch.
What's up, Michael?
That's my thing.
He says they have an app for that. I don't do apps.
Yeah, I don't do apps either.
I think we use Pro Tools with some form of whatever. And I know I used a virtual sound for that solo because that was a Pete Thorne Amplitude 6 Pete Thorne patch thing, which was called like big sounding lead tone or something. I'm like, that works. I don't care.
Pete gets great tones. Can't deny
that was the funny part. You had laughed, Scott, because he's like, do you know Pete Thorne? I'm like, yeah, he's a good guy. And he's like,
yeah, do you know Pete Thorne? That's funny.
No, and he's like, no, like, do you like his sound, like his tone and stuff? I'm like, oh. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you asked, like, what do you think of him? He's like, yeah, like as a fan. I'm like, oh. He's like, he goes, right, you're the one guy that's in my studio in small town Ontario that's actually friends with Pete Thorne. Because he's literally just around the corner from me. And he's like, right, I forget. Because he's literally, and that's no offense to my friends that he records all the time, but we're in small. It's like you being part of your local music scene. Well, unless you're part of this YouTube community that has opened it up where we get to interact with these people, you might as well be thinking, well, do you like Eddie Van Halen? Well, of course, we're going to just say a yes or a no because it's some rock star, as opposed to we never had that intimate level with them.
Right. Well, people have asked me stuff like that too back when I was in punk rock. Oh, do you like so and so? Well, yeah, we played a show with them. And like,
exactly.
Really? It's like, what do you mean you know those guys? Well, I used to work on that guy's amps, or stuff like that. And
yeah, because I've been out of the house.
Yeah, I worked in a music store for 17 years. It was my job.
That's nothing against the bedroom player, living room player, whatever you want to call it, home player, hobbyist, or even playing, with jamming with your buddies down the street. And you don't care if you ever make it out of the garage because the whole point is just getting together and making music, which is totally cool. I'm totally down with that.
That's awesome. If you're doing anything, that's awesome.
Scott, I wish I could just do that without having the ambition to let's take it out of the garage and let's put it into a venue. If you're just happy just doing that, awesome. Which, it's like the song, just making music with my friends. Sure. Why not? And I've done it and I enjoyed it, but I'm always trying to, what can we do with, what can we parlay this into? Right. And the struggles as an independent band, every show is a networking opportunity, which is it doesn't only count with bandmates. Don't be a dick. No, be a cool guy. And then say you play a show with these guys, you can hit them up a year later. Oh yeah, I remember we played at Boise, Idaho together. Yeah, I remember it was a snowstorm and a little shit show. You have that communal experience. What's up, Josh?
Exactly. Well, I mean, I really liked it being right down the street from a fairly large club where our shop was a half a block away from a large club where big name acts would come in. Exactly. Dave Malmsteen, Bruce Dickinson, Sepultura, Quiet Riot, We had people come into the store and I got to meet cool people. And it was fun. I regret not trying to talk to some of them more because, it was my job and I didn't want to be that guy. Yeah.
You don't want to fanboy, but you also
don't want to fanboy.
You want to be the guy that if they are doing a guitar safari before their show that night, you want to be that knowledgeable guy that's aware and respectful, but also that, knowledgeable and say, hey, I know you're into this, this, and this because I know your music.
Right.
And then Mark, you can say Rich's full name. He was a co-host of the show on the channel. Yes, you did. You were a listening assistant. Mark has great ears for picking up errors, which is great. He's like, what am I doing? Listening for fuck-ups. That's all I need. Had him patch in, extra pair of headphones. He's just sitting there. I'm like, what? He flubbed a note there. Okay, thank you. Because, Mark doesn't have as many years standing in front of loud amps, so he hears all the frequencies that we, all the notes.
Right.
But
actually, my ears are pretty good despite standing in front of loud amps.
Mine are not.
I can still hear up to 16K or so. Nice. I can't hear 25 or 24 like I used to when I was a kid.
Right. But yeah, and let's say, like you say, someone comes into your shop, and you're like, I know you're into this, this, and this. Like, say it's, some dude that does a lot of shoegaze. You're like, I know you're into phasers. Check out this new boutique phaser we got in. And he's got far out. And he's going to remember that experience. And next time he's rolling through town, he's going, hey, I wonder if that dude's working at that shop. Because I made that connection.
Oh, they'll come back on vacation. And when they're on vacation, just to, be cash. We had that happen too. Bo Diddley came in and was like that. But it was like me being a huge Randy Rhoads fan, and Quiet Riot comes in the door and I'm just like, oh my God, that's Rudy Sarzo. I really want to talk to him. Right. It's really hard. Or if Lemmy comes in and you're a huge Motorhead fan, it's like, oh my God, Lemmy is in my store. You can't. And they're just kind of like looking around.
You just want to walk up suddenly with a solo cup with a Jack and Coke in it and just
yeah. Well, no, he was busy playing his Game Boy. He was totally. It was whoever the guitar player was in the band, was looking around at stuff.
Right. Jay Santiago says, I met Killer Dwarfs and Stevie Ray Vaughan at the record store my aunt managed. That's awesome. Right. That's quite the diversity, Killer Dwarfs and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Although, ironically, both broke in Texas for the U.S. market. Because a radio station picked up a Killer Dwarfs album in Austin or San Antonio or something like that and started playing it.
Growing up in Seattle, too, I got to go, to Seattle music or American music and see, people that came and did seminars and stuff, I got to meet, Jennifer Batten and Nick Balcott and the guy that was in Kiss at the time playing lead guitar. That his name
Bruce Kulick.
Yeah, Bruce Kulick. Yeah, we got to, and that was back in the late 80s and early 90s, and I got to see Metallica, and I got to see, Eric Johnson in the Paramount, which was just amazing. And
nice.
I miss those times, and gear was cheap, and there was pawn shops everywhere, and you could get deals, and it was just like, that was before grunge really hit. So there was this shit everywhere. Excuse my French. There was just so much stuff. It was
and there was no such thing as vintage gear. It was just used gear.
Well, there was, but it was
even
only...
I'd say vintage, but it was like literally pre-CBS and 50s Gibson. But anything, because I like, it's like now when, like if we're hanging out, you feel that embarrassment. You're like, yeah, it's a Strat, but it's a Squire Strat. And you feel that.
Yeah.
Whereas that was my dad. He's like, yeah, it's a Telly, but it's a CBS Telly.
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
Us at our age group, we're like, it's American made.
It's American made. Yeah. You could go into a pawn shop and there was like stacks of Vistalite drums for $300 a set.
Mm-hmm.
I remember those times. It's like, how much is that stuff worth now? I remember when you could like pick up Clyde McCoy wah pedals for $100, and you could pick up a Benson Echo Rec for $200, and you could pick up Echoplexes all day long for $200, and Univibes for $200, and Fuzz Faces. Nobody wanted Fuzz Faces in the late 80s. You couldn't give them damn things away. Stores had piles of them. They're like, yeah, $50.
Les Pauls were $500 all day. 70s Les Pauls were $500 all day long here because nobody wanted one.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted a Les Paul.
And stuff like the weird Fenders, not the Strats and Tellys. They were $150.
All the offset
all day
stuff,
long.
Yeah.
All day long. You buy Jazz Masters and Mustangs and all that shit all day long for $150 or less. You could buy basement amps for 300 heads all day long for $300. You could buy Marshalls for $500 all day long. You know, it was crazy. Plexis were more because of the Jimi Hendrix thing, and it was Seattle. So people knew that. So It was hard to get a hold of a Plexi. But man, you could buy 800s and JMPs and those kinds of things, you know, and they didn't want the super basses because they weren't the guitar amp. So you could just buy one and change 2 caps in it and have, you know, and get a good deal on it. I
kind of prefer the super bass sound anyways.
I kind of do too. Well, Ed's amp was a super bass basically because it had the 330 microfarad cap in it. And the only other difference was what, a 50K mid control? That's an easy mod. Is that what it takes to get the brown sound out of a Plexi? Okay. I remember
Lemmy came into the store that Scott worked at back in the day.
Yeah, a lot of people were in our store. I wasn't there the day that Carmine Appice was in there, but he signed a drumhead, and that was on our wall for years. Nice. And geez, I couldn't tell you because we didn't even recognize some of the people because they would come play Jimmy Z's, and which is now Tony V's, but they would come play Jimmy Z's, and we didn't. I wasn't like into the stuff at the time. Like I was into like Iron Maiden and Anthrax and stuff. So there would be all these other bands that would come play there, like Pat Travers and stuff like that. And I didn't know who the hell was in their band. They were in our store. I didn't even know who the hell they were.
And it's not like, you know someone's going to walk in like, well, okay. With the exception of Lemmy, nobody's walking in like full stage wear. If anything, you know, they got the hair in a ponytail. They're wearing a ball cap. Like,
Right. Well, Lemmy just dressed like that all the time. And
yeah, exactly. Lemmy's just Lemmy, though. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he wore that pair of jeans for 50 years, I think.
Yeah. And when it became summertime, he just cut them into Daisy Dukes and
rocked it that way. Exactly. I met Daisy Duke too at a car show.
Nice.
I got to put my face through. I was a happy child.
I bet you were.
She was like, "Oh, she liked me." She was like, "Oh, give me a big hug." I was like, "Hi."
DJ playing it takes a lot for me to be starstruck, but it's weird when it happens.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like I say, I'm not. It doesn't usually happen to me, but when it does, it's really the oddest situations. And I don't know. It's weird because I've always been more into like meeting the manufacturers than the musicians in many ways.
Yeah,
I don't. Maybe because I am a bit of a gearhead, but like I remember, I was freaking out when I met Grover Jackson because I'm like,
yeah.
The impact that he had on guitar, you know, and then later that day, I'm standing there with Grover and Floyd Rose, and they're talking about, I'm like, 80s, right there, 80s.
Right there, yeah. These Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, you know, it's like these are the guys, you know, they built the stuff. Well, I would feel the same way being around Friedman if I got to meet him.
Yeah, like, and it was in his booth, basically. Go figure.
Yeah,
Amps booth, so. And that right there, you stay in the Boutique Amps booth, and you know, you're like, there's Dave Friedman, there's Brian Wampler, there's Mike Soldano, there's Joe Morgan, and I'm just like, holy
there's
crap!
There's Stephen Fryette, you know.
Yeah.
I guess they don't let Bogner in there anymore because he doesn't know how to dress appropriately. He's a little strange. I'm sure you've
met a compliment, Scott. I'm going to say it now. He's a lot strange.
He's a lot strange, yeah.
He makes us seem normal.
I bet you've met my old guitar teacher. His name is Kevin Hughes. He went to NAMM all the time, and he was a really, really good guitar player, and he had the big hair. And he was a total rock star. He was in a band called Maximilian. You can find it on YouTube. Man, he's a super nice guy, and he likes to talk, and his laugh is unmistakable. And I'm sure you met him down there because he talks about going to Friedman's booth and seeing Paul Gilbert there, and you know, and I was just like, wow, man, you were so lucky you got to go do that because our shop, man, our boss wouldn't pay for us to go down there.
Yeah,
as much as we wanted to, you know. I would have loved to have gone to NAMM back in those days. What's that? Oh, you got a Paul Gilbert pick.
Yeah, he had given it to me.
Nice.
One thing I like is on the Vortex side, they actually customized that side as well.
Cool. Oh, and it's drawn by him. That's awesome.
Yeah. Which, you know, like I get doing the custom one side, but you figure the other side, they just, you know, whatever stock. But
He's the nicest freaking guy too.
Oh, well, that was the thing. I said, hi, it was great to meet you. He goes, I really don't have time, because he was literally leaving one booth where he just did an appearance on his way to another one. He says, I have zero time to talk, but if you want to walk and talk, feel free. I tried, Scott, but
yeah,
I don't have.
Well, you're tall enough that you could maybe keep up with him.
I was power walking to keep up with him, and that lasted about 50 feet, and then I'm out of breath. And I'm just like, and people are like partying like the Red Sea for him, because he is heads above everyone else, but they weren't parting for me.
they know who he is, So
it was very hard to carry a conversation while trying to breathe. And so I just gave up after a while. I'm like, have a nice day. And he's like, here. Thanks. He goes, here's my card. But it was
Kevin told me a story where I think he was there when Paul did the jam with Steve Morse, I think.
Okay.
I think he was there for that. Were you there for that when he did that? They played some tunes together.
I don't know if I was or not. Yeah, I didn't actually see him perform at all. Like, I just happened to turn a corner and see this mass throng leaving, like the Ibanez booth or something. And I was like, hey, there's Paul Gilbert.
You talk about bigger than life.
Walk right up.
Yeah. Talk about bigger than life. Paul's actually bigger than life. He's like, what, 6'10" or something like that?
That was ridiculous.
He's huge. And his fingers are like this long. It's like, man, I'm so jealous. I've got these little tiny hands and I can't reach 14 frets like you can, damn it.
I was a little nervous meeting Glenn Hughes, but I just love him as a person so much. Like, again, someone who's been there, done that, came out the other side, and he has posted so many inspirational messages over the last few years, because he is very zen, very humble at this point. Just words of wisdom, uplifting. Anybody that's on like the Instagrams, follow Glenn Hughes. You won't be disappointed. Yes, he's taller than Greg Koch, who I've also met.
Oh yeah.
Greg's
taller. He's taller than Josh too. Josh Scott. Just a little bit. Josh Scott's pretty big too.
He's pretty big too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the photo of us, he's like bent over.
I know. I saw it. He's like.
Yeah. That was shortly after I stole a French fry off his plate.
Oh yeah.
That's how I introduced myself. I literally, because we were standing in line for Mexican food, they had already given him his fries, and I walked up. I'm like, don't you love it when you have those random NAMM stories about like a stranger just grabbing a fry off your plate? And he's like, I know, right? Like, he totally.
I know, right? Yeah.
And then
that's awesome.
It was one of those, and then we talked for about 5 minutes, and
you got to meet Brian Pompler too. I really like Brian. He's really cool.
Yeah.
I like his philosophy of how to do things. He's very cool.
Also,
you got a good.
I really love Robert Keeley for the fact that I would go into his booth, make eye contact, give him a nod. Because, like, I literally met him at the first ever event I ever attended, which was Cosmo Fest 2018. Had a big talk with him to the point where he wanted to go over to the Electro Harmonics booth and talk to those guys. So he left Rich and I in charge of his booth.
Oh, wow.
He goes, you mind looking after my booth? Not at all. There's a Duesenberg guitar, a Milkman amp, and a bunch of Keeley pedals set up running into it. I'm good.
Yeah, I think you can keep yourself occupied.
So we did that, and then after that, I go into his booth at an NAMM show, maybe give him a nod or a hi, wave across. And then I'm thinking, he's met thousands of people, Scott, right? Every year, thousands of people. And then I'd be like, headed to the airport, my phone goes off, and he'd be like, so what'd you think of the Oracle? And just like, I tried it on Friday. This is now Monday, type thing. And I was just like, okay, you found me in the contact, whatever. I don't know. And I was just like, awesome, man, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you didn't have to do that, dude. He's just looking for extra feedback, I guess,
Did you ever get to meet Mike Matthews? Speaking of VHX.
I think there's a photo in the intro. Me and Mike.
Is
Matthews.
There? Oh,
yeah.
Man, he's legend.
Yeah. That's how I blew Rich's mind was I got Mike to, because he wasn't doing interviews, but I just got him to do like a 10-second thing. He was like, Richard Shanahan is cool, and I know cool.
Yeah.
So then
he's a
I
character.
remember going out because I was trying to send it to Rich, and I got no bandwidth, of course, because it's NAM. So I go outside, and all of a sudden I send it, and then an hour later my phone goes off. Holy fuck balls! Yeah.
That's awesome. We were a new sensor dealer back in the 90s, and that was before that was right when EHX started again in the early 90s, and he used to answer the phone and take orders, and I used to talk to him for a little bit here and there because I recognized him. I was like, "Is this Mike?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is Mike. And, what can we get you this week? You want some tubes? Yeah, we need tubes." Yeah, he was such a cool guy.
Yep. I just see my niece says, I just heard Grunt Truck on the radio last week. I saw Grunt Truck in concert.
Grunt Truck was a Seattle thing, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Weren't they from Seattle?
Yes, looks like, according to BC Rich 581, said Skinyard morphed into Grunt Truck, then the singer died.
Right. They used to play with Rhino Humpers all the time.
I saw Grunt Truck open for Alice in Chains on their first headlining tour, I guess.
Yeah, my niece hurt. He's a fellow Seattleite.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna go see Coven? My knees hurt. I'm buddies with Dean Babbitt. He's one of my friends. I got a picture of us here. He came to visit. You remember Coven? Coven.
Vaguely. Yeah, I recognize the name.
McDonald Land Massacre. Iron Dick.
I was like, it seems to me there was a lot of like Sub Pop comp albums floating around here. Knees hurt knows.
Yeah, go see Coven, man. They play around. Colin's got a new band too. They're called Pain Field. Go check them out.
Nice.
That's the drummer from Forced Entry. Their band's pretty cool.
Vanilla Slice.
That's right.
You ever seen Mother Love Bone?
I never seen him. No. I remember, what was it, Lane Staley? And he died, I think, didn't he? Their singer. Or no, that was Andrew something.
Yeah, Andy Wood?
Andy Wood, yeah. The other Andy Wood.
Yes, the other.
Andrew Wood, not Andy.
Well.
Andy Wood just played here yesterday in Boise, and I didn't know he was here. I would have went and saw him.
Dang.
He's one of my favorite guitar players. I'm like, I didn't know he was here. Oh,
Did
no.
Andrew Wood actually live with Chris Cornell, perhaps? Or at least for a period of time?
Yeah.
Which was hence the Temple of the Dog tribute thing.
A friend of mine is a huge fan of Green Apple Quickstep and all that stuff. Because I remember them, and I remember, I was still in junior high when Soundgarden's first EP came out.
Right.
And
we were lucky, considering, again, small town Ontario, but somebody got a hold of Sub Pop's mailing address type situation. Cool. And then when the chain record store, basically, they gave up the franchise and became an independent record store, the guy's mom owned the place, and he just said, hey, I want to start carrying Sub Pop records here. And that was like a year or so before grunge hit. Like, I want to say around like 91. It was just before Nevermind really broke. And so he was starting to bring that stuff in because he went away to college, found this stuff. And then so we were kind of exposed to it. So it was weird in that respect. Like, we're really up on the Sub Pop stuff.
On the Sub Pop stuff.
And everyone's breaking big. And we're like, oh.
I'm trying to remember who all was on that label, because they had punk, and they had was Dehumanizers on that label, I think. And
they basically, I think everybody kind of signed just for distribution, because they did have that network of independent record stores, basically.
And there was there was another.
See you, Dave.
I remember when Forced Entry got signed to Combat, and then Relativity bought them, and I can't remember who signed Coven. I think it was Everrat Records. And then they had Dumped on their label too. And Dumped was my friend Jake's band, who's passed away now. They were very big locally, and they played around with like the Mentors and stuff as the opening act. And we played with the Mentors when I was in Chick Shadle.
Nice.
I'm trying to remember because I remember like in high school, I could go see like The Accused and Forced Entry, or Mace and The Accused and Forced Entry, and Coven and Forced Entry, and God, there was a metal Death Squad from Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of like a one of the first like really metalcore bands, I guess you would call them. They were not quite death metal, but they were stuff like that. Yeah, you can find all these bands on YouTube. My friend's band Retic and Retribution, they had two names, put their stuff up on Spotify recently, so you can find it. They were a great band for a local band. Oh man, there's so many people. It was like a lot of those bands, some of those bands made it. Mm-hmm. Like Forced Entry got signed, and they had 2 albums, and they had rotation on MTV for a while. But Relativity didn't know how to support them. So
I like that. DJ Play Nice says Sub Pop pushed damn near everyone through Omaha. Nirvana played here in '89 to about 20 of us at the lift ticket. Nice.
They used to play at the off ramp all the time. Nirvana and Soundgarden, and I bet my niece remembers the off ramp. And oh man, what was the other club that was down there? It was so long ago that I can't remember. Yeah, Forced Entry's still killer. Too bad Brad's in prison now. Meth deal gone bad. Feds got in on that one. He's not going to be out anytime soon.
Stephen Boston says, good luck with metal in 2023. I don't know. What's modern? I don't listen to modern. I'm not that angry anymore.
I don't know. Metal's really popular in some circles. Shit, Ola is really popular.
Yeah, I just don't pay attention to it anymore because you know what ruined modern metal for me, Scott? Gent. Because like it doesn't matter
for me,
what
it was new metal.
You're just playing percussive on a guitar. Like it's just percussive.
Yeah, it's playing drums on the guitar, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm just like, all I'm hearing is syncopation. Like,
yep.
I don't see the point.
And
then you got your Cookie Monster vocalist, which, you know, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't care.
For cookie. Cookie is for me. You know, it's like
now. The closest thing to modern metal I get is Jay's band, Gizmochi. I like Gizmochi. It's not totally my thing, but they do it well.
Right.
You know, they do it well, and I can appreciate when bands do it well.
Well, I like Devin Townsend, and Strapping and Glad was great, and I like Ola. I think he's great. His music's great. I really like it.
My niece says I live directly across from I-5 from Off Ramp and Rock Candy on Melrose Street.
Rock Candy, that was it. I knew he would remember. The Rock Candy.
Jay says we're okay.
Hey, my niece, do you remember Rail? Do you remember Rail, Ben?
I don't remember Rail.
They won the first MTV Basement Tapes.
Ah, okay.
They were from
Jay asked, either of you ever meet Nardwar?
Nardwar.
That sounds familiar. Does the vomit scream come after the Cookie Monster? Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, there was a local band called Saber, and they invented the snare drum thing that you hear all over metal music in the 90s.
I just remember before getting back into playing, I was doing sound for a couple of years, and if I saw one more jazz drum kit with a double kick adapter and a Chinese crash, I was going to open a vein. Because I know it was good.
Yeah. I knew exactly what you were talking about.
I only like the Chinese crash in one song, and that's Kim Carnes' Betty Davis Eyes. That's it. That's the only one. I allow it.
I like it in Slayer. That's it. I like it.
You know why people use Chinese crashes? Because they're too lazy to grab the cymbal. They're too lazy for cymbal grabs.
They're
counting cymbal. No, you don't want a cymbal then. Cymbals Now give me a splash. You never hear that because that's like a phaser on a cymbal. See, those are awesome.
I hear Chinese cymbals, and all it reminds me of is Chinese New Year in Seattle, where they're having the dragons dance, and you know, it's like
that is acceptable.
Then it's acceptable. Yeah, I don't want to hear it in a metal band.
A double kick.
Yeah, it's like, man, learn how to play. And then
I swear that's what I heard for 2 hours.
You know, how fast can I play double bass? See how good I play. It's just like, how boring. Yeah, it's just boring. I don't get it.
Yeah, you think that's good double bass? Listen to industrial music.
Yeah, well, I mean, I liked Ministry, didn't you?
Yep. I love Ministry. I love Ministry to the point where I didn't like White Zombie, because when I looked at Rob Zombie, I'm like, you're totally ripping off Al's look with the cowboy hat and the dreads.
Totally, like, I thought the same thing.
Total ripoff.
Total ripoff. Absolutely. It's like, you're ripping off Al Jorgensen. Go away. Yep. Now, I didn't like them anyway. I didn't know the backstory where Rob Zombie had been struggling for years. Like, he released a lot of material before Thunder Kiss ever broke. Right.
You know, I don't know, half a dozen albums at least. So, you know, kudos for finally breaking through. But don't steal Al's look. Yeah.
Oh, I found out that Static X had been around since like 1986 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until like, what, 1992 or something that they broke? That was a long time. Well, I mean, in Pantera, man, they had been around since like 82 before they finally broke. And
I thought the interesting thing was watching a recent interview with Dee Snider. Like, speaking of bands that took forever to break, right?
Mm-hmm.
That because Stay Hungry was their third, major label album, that they were so far in debt. Even with those 2 huge hits, Dee didn't start seeing royalties until 1996 or 97, long after the band had broken up. You know, but it took that long to recoup their cost. And it's not like they were partiers, because they were veterans. They understood what was up. You know,
I had their import records, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, and the one before that I don't remember the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember them when before Stay Hungry broke. And then one day I was at Old Seattle Music down on First Avenue, and we walked in there, and there was We're Not Gonna Take It was playing on the on MTV, and I was like, oh, what's that? And they're like, that's Twisted Sister. And I looked at Dee Snider, and I'm like, that is the ugliest tranny I've ever seen. You know, I was like, what the hell is that? You know, I like the music, but man, they're weird. I don't know about that. You know.
Yep.
I was just getting into music then, so that was like what, 1984, I think was when that
84, 85.
Yeah.
Like, I remember it was the trifecta of albums in 1985 that all my friends and classmates had, which was Stay Hungry, Theater of Pain, and Quiet Riot Metal Health.
Metal Health.
Those 3 albums were required listening in 1985.
In 1984, for me, it was Van Halen's 1984, Metal Health, Pyromania from Def Leppard, and Peace of Mind when that came out.
Sure.
So that was like, and then a little bit later, like maybe 6 months down the line, it was Shout at the Devil. That was like the big thing. Yep. And then a friend of mine who was older gave me Yngwie Malmsteen's first record, and I was like, what the hell is that? This has got to be, you know, because we were like, this is ridiculous. It's this guy recording at double speed and slowing it down, you know.
that was me the first time I bought Metallica's Kill 'Em All. And I'm just listening and going, like, where's the beat? Yeah. You know, like, because it just sounded like when you were fast forwarding through a cassette. It might as well have been that. Just because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going. They're just playing a million miles a minute. I don't know what's going on.
I was in fifth.
I listened to the album front to back. No idea what was happening. Put the cassette away for like 6 months.
Right.
Because it was not AC/DC and Kiss. I couldn't find the beat.
Yeah, I couldn't understand it back then.
But then over that 6 months, I started getting into punk, and so a little faster. And then I went back, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, because then I could hear all the riffs in the beat. And
well, I was still listening to, I had just got into music, so I had just discovered Ozzy, and I had just discovered Dio, and I had just discovered AC/DC and Black Sabbath, and so that's what I was listening to. And then I was like, then I got into Judas Priest, and it was faster because Defenders of the Faith came out and Free Will Burnin' was all over MTV, and I was like, ooh, I like that, you know. And I remember because I had won tickets to go see Anthrax, but I was in 5th grade and I couldn't go to the bar, so I never went and picked up the tickets from KISW. So I remember when Kill 'Em All came out and when Fistful of Metal came out, and I was like you, I was just like, I this is too much for me. I don't know if I like this, because it hadn't broke yet. And then 2 years later, when I was in, you know, junior high, then I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I went out and bought it, and SOD and Slayer and Megadeth, and I was like, and that became my shit, you know.
Like once I got in the Ramones, I could listen to anything.
Yeah, it was the Dead Kennedys for me. Once I started listening to the Dead Kennedys, it was like, okay, I like this now, you know.
And after listening to that kind of speed, then I put on like the Sex Pistols, and I'm like, that's groove rock compared. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I remember getting Nevermind the Bullocks, and I was like, well, this doesn't sound very hard. And that was when I first started playing guitar, and I figured out the whole album in an afternoon because it was just so easy. You know?
But great hooks and riffs. Great. That was the thing, The simplicity was the awesomeness.
My band used to cover Bodies because it was just so offensive, and we loved it, you know. I don't want a baby that looks like that, you know. that was so awesome. I remember I miss the times when everything was new and exciting, and you could go buy records up until, I don't know, the mid-90s or something, where everything was just like, man, this is so awesome. And then it's like, I still do that. I'm like, where's the good stuff? Where is it? I don't want to listen to Pro Tools. Where's the good stuff? And then I found, my friend turned me onto that Thank You Scientist. And I was just like, oh, wow, this is awesome. I got to listen to this. So I encourage anybody to go check them out. They're killer. For sure.
Well, we've gone basically 2 hours, just like that.
Yeah. Awesome. People are probably bailing out to go watch Dave and Pete and Stephen Fryatt.
No, actually, we only dipped down by about maybe 10 from our peak.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's not bad. So
I'm going to head over there as soon as we're done. So
yeah. So we've had fun. We will do this again, folks. I'm warning you now. Scott will be back because I had way too much. And did we talk really about Explorers? Barely. Talk about pedals? Kind of. It was a great show because I know it was great because it seems like we've been talking for 45 minutes.
Right.
You know, that's how
we're off the same tree. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing. What I love about,
thank you, Tom.
You know, let's say the 15, 20 members of our Water Buffalo, you know, the guys that are kind of regular, like I get to talk to you about certain music that I don't talk to about really with anyone else.
Right.
And that's not anybody else's fault or anything. It's just what we happen to overlap. You know, same as I have a different conversation when Aaron comes on.
Yeah.
You know, because different stuff.
Yeah, but Aaron's more into the alt rock thing, and
exactly. Whereas we can take more of a walk down memory lane because, like, say I had that weird sub pop exposure all the time, so I was really plugged into the Seattle scene, even though I had barely pointed out on a map. Didn't matter. Right. I knew the music that was coming out of there all the time.
We got to get John on too at the same time because me and him can talk about shred and stuff.
We could. John, if you're still here, consider yourself warned. We will do that, definitely.
Because me and John like really hit it off like that too.
Oh hell yeah! That's one of the great things about with the like on the Water Buffalo meetings that we. Speaking of which, Water Buffalo meeting coming up this Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern for the 49 of you still watching.
Awesome.
I'll promote it again tomorrow night, and there will be a link up anyway. So that's why you have the bell rung. So if I post it on the community tab, you get a notification. You go, oh, Water Buffalo meeting. So that is on Canada Day, so it's a holiday. So we'll be doing it for time and a half. Sure. Thanks again, Scott, for coming on. This is awesome.
Hell yeah.
Fun. And thanks everybody that donated tonight. Appreciate it, especially Andy Carson if you're watching the rest on replay. Thanks to the Mod Squad for modding. I don't know. Yeah, the Hoser holiday. Exactly.
Yeah, the Hoser. Well, the 4th of July is 2 days after that, so.
Yes. And then 1 week from tonight, which is July 2nd, my sister will be on because her birthday is on the 5th, and we're not doing a Wednesday show. So we're not. So that's how that works. So my sister will be on 1 week from tonight. And I've been Ben. Scott's been Scott. Y'all been y'all, because that's how that works. Hold those doors open. Let either of us ahead in traffic if you don't mind. We'd like to get there sooner. Be good to each other. Happy tone chasing.
Don't litter.
Of course, don't litter.
Litter.
Don't.